so many children being diagnosed with ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder and anxiety and all of that. And we have some answers, and I know we're just waiting for a few people to get notification. I'm sure we're going to have somebody join us here live, and if not, if you're watching the replay, just pretend you're here live and follow through and help me out in the comment bars by answering questions or asking questions or just engaging with us somewhat along the way. I do want to thank Marta Leon and Chelsea and Sarah and Terry Batari and Lisa Nichols for watching the replays and engaging in the information that we're sharing, and also for sharing your stories, your success stories. And as I said before, Chelsea, we love the negative stories too, because that helps us know, where to go next or where to help you or where to teach you. And today we're going to be talking about, when did we become the be-all, end-all, do-all for our kids? When did parenting become all about control? A few of the comments that I've read is, why does my child need to be so controlling? And then a few of the parents are just like, why don't my kids just listen just because I say so? We got to make sure they're safe and protect them. Oh, hi, Brittany. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And also, Brittany, for engaging in all that you have. Brittany is somebody, she's going to start a Cool Kids website, and she can probably do a video to tell you all about that, but that should be coming by the end of the summer. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So we're talking about control and when we became the be-all, do-all, and have-all for my kids. So I want to take you back a little bit and introduce myself. Of course, my name is Bonnie Liotta, and my husband and I are authors of the book Learn to Speak Kid, and we spend every single day of our lives engaging with parents, working with parents, answering emails, working with our clients to help them go from, chaos and arguments and power struggles to a more peaceful home environment. And in fact, kids are being removed from medication. They're learning how to succeed in school. They're developing confidence, and that's what we want to help you with too. We want you to be there too. And I was thinking this morning, what message can I share with the group today that will just help you see how much power that you actually do have in your life as a parent, help you see that perhaps we're only being shared one side of the coin with, doctors and pediatricians and therapists and counseling and all of that. And we want to share you the other side of the coin so that you can actually authentically help your child with all of that, learning to focus, self-control, responsibility, and all these great things. But, before I wrote Learn to Speak Kid, I didn't know what I was doing. I was completely lost as a parent. I was a single mom of 4 kids. I was a personal development coach. I lived in this big 7-bedroom house. My kids didn't want for anything. I thought it was my job to, cook for them, clean for them, drive for them, protect them, control them, make them behave. All of these things that I believe we have been led down this path to know. That's why we parent that way, don't we? I mean, I'm sure you do the same things. If you don't drive your kids to their birthday parties or throw them a birthday party or drive them to their friend's house or pick them up from school, you're a bad parent. And I'm wanting to know where this idea came from. Because only 100 years ago, kids were working and they were building houses and having families by the age of 14. And today, our 14-year-olds, well, the majority, I'm not going to say all, but the majority of our 14-year-olds don't know how to work for anything because they've never really worked for anything in their lives. So back 100 years ago, it wasn't our job to control and be a maid for and do everything for our children. In fact, children were brought into the family. People kept having more children so that they would have more help on the farm. the kids would do more. The kids had responsibility. They had purpose. They had desire. There was things in their lives that they could do. They would get in trouble. They would be gone from the house all day long, not even coming home till dark. At least that's 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? And so I thought I was the best mom in the world. I was a single mom with 4 kids, ages 6 to 13. 3 of them had been diagnosed with ADHD, my youngest with ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder. And I just started to believe that maybe it was hereditary. Maybe they got it from their dad. Well, maybe I was ADHD when I was in school because I didn't do that good in school either, right? And so when my son was in grade 3, he's now 19, my oldest, when he was in grade 3, they did some testing and they found that he had a learning disability when it came to reading and writing, and they said that he had ADHD and shared the path of that. Now, I was in denial for 3 years. I just said, no, that can't be. No, God doesn't make sick kids. I just can't believe that, the Bible says that we're all created in the image of our Creator, but my kids were born sick. It just didn't resonate with me. But I tried everything. I read books. I read articles. I did everything that I could do to help my kids. And all I got was, empathize. Get on their level, be an understanding, supportive parent, set rules and boundaries. Kids do need a little bit of structure, right? And so that's what I did. It's fun going live. That's awesome. My nuts fell out of my cupboard. Okay. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so where was I? Let me go back. Okay, we're talking about how I thought I was the greatest mom in the world because I went over and above to give my kids a great life, an easy life. I wanted them to know that they were loved and special. I wanted them to have everything in the life that I didn't have when I was a kid. I wanted them to have the designer clothes. I just wanted so much for my kids to be happy. And it just seemed like the more I tried to go out of my way to make them happy, the less happy they actually were. The more they didn't like me, or they didn't respect me, or, there were arguments and power struggles, and it was just running from one room to another, to another, to another, and then ending up in my bathroom with the door locked, crying because I didn't know what to do with these crazy kids. All right. And so then I really started looking for the answer. There had to be an answer, because it was either medicate my kids or find an answer, because they had to make it through their everyday life. And I didn't know how to teach them. All I knew were super nanny techniques and doing my best to be that, brick wall giving kind of parent with structure, without really a crystal clear picture how to do that. Are you with me? Okay. So, oh, hi, Chelsea. Hey, thanks for being here. Awesome. I said hi to you earlier in the video. Thank you so much for staying tuned and for being on this journey for your kids, right? It's a big deal. And so all of my story and everything that I've been talking about, being and doing and having everything for my children, brought me to the next point. And because I want to talk about how I realized that those were mistakes. Thinking that I needed to entertain them and I needed to, just do everything in my power to give them a good life, and how that was a mistake. And how I am going to share this with you, I'm going to give you an image to really grasp the point of what I'm talking about here. Let's say that all of the lions, we'll just take lions, okay? Lions have babies, they reproduce, and then what is the life cycle of a lion? Do they actually be all, do all, and have all for their kids, and then go, no, mommy's got everything, I'm going to do all the hunting and bring you back all the food and all that. And then when the lion is an adult and has to kind of leave the cave, because now mom's like, hey, I'm sick and tired of doing all the hunting, and I'm sick and tired of doing all the work, and I'm sick and tired of all this. You're now an adult. Get out of my cave. Right? It seems kind of funny, because lions and bears and rabbits, it's nature, and nature, they reproduce, they teach life skills, and then their young are off living life on their own. I got to introduce you to my kitty. He's only about, hi Tina, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. He is about 10 weeks old and he's awesomely fun, and he keeps getting into everything, which is kind of funny. I'm sure that you all know, if you have kids, you know that kitties are almost as bad as toddlers. They're getting into everything. All right, so if all of the lions and all of the rabbits and all of the bears and all of wildlife just one day woke up and started teaching their young that, hey, it's like our job to do the hunting. They're just kids. They're cute. They don't have to do anything. It's our job to do all of the pickup, all of the cleanup, all of the hunting, all of the feeding, everything. And then, you know, when they're an adult, they just go and they figure it out on their own. What would happen, and there's a few of you here, thank you so much, I'd really appreciate an answer here, because what would happen if all of the wildlife stopped teaching their young life skills, but they actually started doing all, being all, and being the have-all for their kids? What do you guys think? And I'm going to wait for an answer. What would happen to all of the lions of the world if they stopped teaching their young how to hunt and how to protect themselves from predators? What do you think? What would happen? Maybe you all walked away from the computer. Maybe you all walked away. Oh, the lions would die or learn. The young would become prey. Yes. Absolutely. They would die. And see, to me, I love God, but you call God whatever you like. Source energy, the power of the universe. We all know that there's a higher something. And the higher something inside of us, that spiritual part that's inside of us, is either going to grow or die. You see, God's an acronym. Grow in love or die in hate. Grow in learning or die in the not knowing of. I mean, gravity is going to work whether we believe it works or not. We might jump off a 3-story building going, we didn't know about gravity, but gravity is not going to be empathetic. There are certain laws that govern our entire universe, and one of them is that the older generation, it's their job, it's our job to teach the young how to be, do, and have everything on their own. That's our job. That's our role as a parent. And you see, when Tom first asked me, Bonnie, what's your role as a parent? I did this. To make them happy? Oh, no, that's not it. To buy them things? No, that's not it. To support them, to protect them, to control them, to make them behave? No. None of those descriptions of my role as a parent fit with my heart. I kept going, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. What is my role as a parent? What is my role as a parent, Tom? Well, our role as parents is to teach our children life skills, pass on what we know, the wisdom that we know, so that our kids can live a success-filled and happy life, not just now, but their entire lives. And that just hit me in the head like a ton of bricks, because I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought to teach my 6-year-old how to make juice. I never thought to teach my children how to ride their bicycle to their friend's house. I was always the driver. I never thought to really take the time to teach my kids to take care of their stuff, because they never earned anything in their life. They just asked, poof, it would show up. Ask, poof, it would show up. It was like they had a magic genie. They just had to like rub the lamp and poof, everything in their life showed up. But what happens is, and this is my mistake, okay? I made these mistakes and I fixed these mistakes, and that's why 5 years ago my kids were all being diagnosed with ADHD and ODD, and now they're not. Now they're in mainstream school with no evidence of ADHD or ODD anymore. These are respectful, happy, grateful, confident children. Now, here's the thing. If you're 6 years old and you're just this little spirit of, I'm in a new world, everything's new to me, I want to touch, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to be like my mommy or my daddy, I want to do things like them. And so you're 6 years old, and every time you're thirsty, you think you're going to die if mom doesn't show up with your glass of water or your glass of juice, because you've never gotten a glass of juice on your own. And as simple as it can be for you and I, because we're adults, right? We know how to get juice. By the time they're 18, they'd probably figure it out. But how many of us know kids who are 16, 17, and 18, and their mom is still pouring their juice or getting them juice or running to the store to get them pop or whatever it is? It is happening, and I know it's happening because our clients email us every single day. We get emails from people all over the world asking us to help them because they're now 18-year-old, won't get a job, won't stop playing video games, sleeps all day, is depressed and unmotivated and all this. So it's not like they ever grow out of being a child. We don't just like grow out of temper tantruming. We don't grow out of, not knowing how to drive a car. We have to be taught how to drive a car. We don't grow up one day and all of a sudden know how to tie our shoes or know how to read. We have to be taught every single thing, from manners to how to sit at a chair at the dinner table, to how to hold a fork, to how to talk, everything, how to walk. If your baby was born with a bunch of monkeys, they would walk and eat and talk like monkeys. If you are speaking English and your baby was born and adopted by a family who lived in China, that baby would speak, or that toddler would end up speaking Chinese, because that's what it would be taught, right? We're not just born into America and then we automatically just speak English. We're taught these things. And so what I realized was, and this is so powerful, if it just like makes a difference in one person's life today, then it's worth straightening the hair and everything to come on the Facebook Live. All right. The biggest mistake that I made was feeling like, acting like, and doing everything for my kids. I thought that was going to make me a great mom. I thought that they would recognize all of the effort and everything that I was doing in their lives to help them, to give them, to do and be for them. But I was not allowing them to grow. Remember, grow or die. Grow or die. I was not letting my children grow. So if the children aren't growing and nothing ever remains the same, the law of perpetual transmutation says that everything is always moving from form, out of form, back into form. So if everything's always moving and changing and nothing ever just stays exactly the same, and this child, my 6-year-old, my 13-year-old, who every time he packed a bag, I would double check and add some socks. I didn't know that I was like literally killing them. They were dying, and they were telling me that they were dying with their tantrums and their anger and their disrespect and excuse me, and their defiance. And what I was doing is I was following the doctors and the pediatricians and the schools because I didn't know how to help them. And I thought that was my only way to actually help them, was to do that system and eventually, medicate. I did medicate my 12-year-old and then quickly regretted that because I was at a loss after 3 years until I met Tom. And he pointed out what my role as a parent was. Then I started looking at my kids differently, like, I want juice. Oh my gosh, I would love for you to have juice. That's called a goal. I don't owe you juice. I don't need to be your maid and run and get you juice to make me a good mom. My job and your job, all of us, our jobs are to help our children acquire what's important to them, not control them. Acquire what's important to them, their goals, but not to control them. So, Mom, I want juice. I would love for you to have juice. That's called a goal. Do you remember a little while ago we were talking about where your bicycle should be when you're done riding it? Where's the best place for your bicycle to be? As soon as your bicycle finds its home, you can get yourself some juice. Oh, but I don't know how to make juice. Perfect. My job is not to get your juice, but to teach you how to make juice all on your own. And you know what this little being's, well, he actually did. This little being just went, really? I can do it on my own. And Tom actually was the first one to actually teach my son to make juice. And this was like an aha moment for me, because I was just going to go pour the juice. And Tom said, wait a minute, go run an errand, come back. And little guy says, guess who made the juice? I'm like, who made the juice? And he goes, I made the juice. I'm like, you made the juice, Zach? Oh my gosh, why didn't I ever think to teach my 6-year-old how to make juice? Or my 9-year-old, or my 11-year-old, or my 13-year-old? Why did I think that it was my job to connect myself to my child so tightly that it was all about me and none about them? Wow, that was pretty big. This isn't even coming from me. This is coming from something outside of me. Catherine, I was so worried about being the juice mom. I bought a jug with the button tap. Now the 3-year-old can get her own juice since the juice jug is still too heavy. That's awesome, Catherine. That is amazing. So we're creating an environment where children feel like they have some control over their lives. They feel as if their life means something, as if they're needed, as if they have purpose, and they're not just this little jewel or something that is attached to the parent, you are, that whole thought, like you are part of me, or, you're an extension of me. The way that you look or behave affects me. If we're at a family function and you're a little bugger, that's going to affect me. And this isn't like to be offensive, because we are all self-centered creatures. We are all self-centered creatures, all of us. But let me ask you this, okay? If my number one mistake, not realizing what my role was as a parent, and it was like doing too much, being too much, having too much, double checking, not ever trusting my children, never taking the time to teach them to be self-sufficient, but to always be there to control them, get them whatever they needed. If that was my biggest mistake, and that is the biggest mistake that I see in the hundreds of people who reach out to us, my first question is, when's one time your child has actually set a goal and actually persevered through some obstacles and made that goal happen all on their own? And 99.99999% of the time, the answer I get back is never. My child has never set a goal, worked towards it, persevered through obstacles, and accomplished the goal all by themselves. See, that should be an aha moment. That should be an aha moment right there. If we're going to have purpose and feel like we're important and feel like we have some control, like I am in control of my body and my actions, that is the definition of self-control. I am in control of my body and my actions. But you see, I saw a Dr. Phil special one time, and the mom was arguing with her son, and the mom says, I'm in control of what you do. And the child's going, I'm in control of my body. I'm in control of my actions. And mom's going, no, I'm in control of you. And the little guy is just going, oh my gosh, no, mom. He's in control of his body and his actions. And see, if we can't take personal responsibility, and then we can't teach our child to take personal responsibility, then we end up growing up a victim to circumstance. Your child ends up growing up a victim to circumstance. Do you know that ADHD and ODD have been diagnosed now for the last couple of 2-3 generations, right? And so now we have young adults who literally believe that their brain is broken. They literally believe something's wrong with their brain because they were told in grade 3, 4, or 5 that they had ADHD and they just cannot focus on things like everybody else. Like, I can't lift 150 pounds right now, but if I wanted to, and I consciously worked on lifting 150 pounds, and I started at 40 and 50 and 60 and eventually would make it up to 150 150 pounds, I could work my body, I could work my muscles out enough that I could eventually lift 150 pounds. And you're telling me the doctors of the whole world, everybody out there, the system is going to tell me that a child cannot learn and develop focus. A child cannot learn and develop self-control. A child cannot learn and develop how to sit in a chair. Gosh, come on. We can learn to drive cars. We can learn to drive airplanes. We can learn to develop every single thing that you see, your computer. Somebody made this computer from nothing. Created it and made it from nothing. So I'm just here to say, if we allow the system to make us all believe that 1 out of 3 or 4 children now are diagnosed with something, and then the other 3 that aren't diagnosed with ADHD are being diagnosed with anxiety or depression. So in 20 years from now, who is going to run our world? Who's going to have the self-confidence and the skills enough to run companies and businesses and countries? 70% of all of our food comes from outside of our country. Somebody runs things, somebody develops these systems. Somebody runs everything. Somebody developed Facebook and runs it and works on it every day. Who's going to run our world? If you and I are going to be the be-all, do-all, have-all for our kids, how are they ever going to learn to do things on their own and become a leader? I think the problem is with the parents or caregivers, we don't want kids to get mad, sad, or angry. We experience all those feelings as adults. Okay, absolutely, Chelsea. So if we could go back, you, me, probably the majority of us in this generation as parents were emotionally abused, we were yelled at, we were controlled, and here's why. And it just goes back to how I started the video. 100 years ago, parents had children to have more help on the farm. The 2-year-olds had responsibility and had purpose. Now, fast forward to 1946, where just 2 years before, 1944, if you were to pick up and kiss and coddle a crying baby, you were considered a bad parent. Now, if you let your baby cry, you're considered a bad parent, right? Okay, some things have changed. Okay, so we also use corporal punishment, get out of line, look at me the wrong way, don't respect me, whack, you're going to get smacked, you're going to get spanked, you're going to get beat with a switch. That's what we did 60, 70, 100 years ago. So your grandparents were raised in a very strict environment. They were fed at a certain time. They sat at the table a certain way. They did a certain amount of work on the farm. If you didn't work, you didn't eat. I mean, it was a very almost logical way to parent. However, we started realizing that the beating and the whipping and the abuse, that caused a lot of fear. So your parents' generation was raised with a lot of fear-based mentality. You listen to me or else. And so they did. The kids complied. But I've worked with tens of thousands of adults in personal development. And the biggest thing that I realized from that type of parenting is children then grow up to become adults who are fearful, who lack confidence, who have no idea how to make a decision because they were told how to do everything, how to learn this way or you fail, right? Are you with me on this? Okay. It makes so much sense when you actually take the Band-Aid off and you actually see what's really going on. This is going to make so much sense. This is so powerful and it's imperative that we get this. Okay. All right. So 1946, this book is published called Baby and Child Care, and the book sells millions and millions and millions of copies, more copies than any other nonfiction book for 52 years in a row, with the exception of the Bible. Okay. That book taught parents, let me guess, have you ever heard of naughty time or time out or positive discipline, conscious parenting, all of those types of parenting? And I'm looking for interaction here, okay? So, and hey guys, if there's anything that you're hearing that's like resonating or it's like powerful, or you want to give me like a little love, Facebook loves those little hearts and likes when you guys click on the like button and stuff like that, and it'll just help more people actually see this video, which I think this is a really powerful video if I do say so myself. Okay, so Chelsea, I'm relearning to parent. My parents were verbally and physically abusive. I so understand. I wish I was empowered instead of yelled at as a child. Yes, absolutely. And me too. And I remember thinking that about myself. I wish my mom ever believed in me just one time, because nothing I ever did was good enough. I was too slow, too not smart enough, not fast enough, not athletic enough. Okay, conscious discipline. All right. So thank you, Brittany, for sharing. All right, so we've got the conscious discipline, positive discipline type thing going on since your parents were born, or since they were, young children. And so I remember in 1970, probably 78, 79, when I was a little bugger, and I was about 8 or 9 years old, my mom always going, Dr. Spock says we can't spank anymore, and I just don't know what to do. And so she just yelled and yelled and yelled and yelled and just didn't like me, or that's kind of how I felt. Okay, so now we have been taught since our parents' day and age to time out and all of these things I was just talking about, this type positive discipline. But the idea there, and why it's not working, and why there's been a 52% increase in ADHD and ODD in the last 13 years, is because we think that timeouts are a positive way to discipline, when really, how often do you actually feel positive when you are giving your kid a timeout? Like when you're putting your child in a timeout or dragging him to a chair and he's kicking and screaming, how positive do you actually feel? How positive does your child actually feel? And it's not very positive at all. That's bad. We don't do that. You get a time out. It's negative, double negative, negative words, negative tone, negative. You've done something negative. Now I have to do something negative. And so since when did negative plus negative ever equal positive? So how are we ever going to get positive results working with our children with a negative plus negative equals another negative? All right, so it's not your fault, and it's really not your parents' fault either. There's been a lot of confusion in parenting. Parenting only became an industry in the last couple of 100 years, and even then, since 1946, since before then, they were talking about, hey, do we give our babies cold baths or hot baths? Is it okay to give them a little bit of brandy if they have a cold? These types of things, but it was never how to parent children until Baby and Child Care in 1946, which caused a lot of confusion and now has over 8 million children in the United States alone being medicated for a disorder, lack of focus, impulse control, and hyperactivity. So if we can learn how to focus, physically work that muscle, just like working a bicep, if we could physically, consciously teach focus, then your child will be actually empowered to focus. He'll know how to focus. But there is a way. So I want to close this up today with a couple of tips for you to think about. Number one, begin to look at your child as if they are just this perfect little being with lack of experience. So what I'm saying is, instead of looking at them like they're doing something wrong, begin to look at them like they're missing a life skill. Oh, my child runs all over the house when I ask him to put his shoes on. I need him to learn the life skill of actually putting the shoes on and getting out the door on time. But is getting out the door on time all about your goal, or is that all about your child's goal? All right, so number one, begin to become aware that your child is not acting out it's not a behavior issue so much. Begin to look at it like they need experience. They need me to teach them the life skill. Number two, getting out the door on time or having your children comply or just listen to you is a goal that's important to you. So we must begin to focus more on what's important for the child. I've heard my entire personal development career that we do not have the right to ask anything from anybody without a sufficient motivator. This includes children. After all, children are human beings missing the life experience and missing the life skills of adults. Now, there's a lot of us adults that are missing life skills too because our parents didn't really teach us. They just yelled at us. All right. And so now we're becoming parents. We're making decisions to be a better parent than our parents were. And we are winging it. We're winging it. And there's no time to wing it anymore. All right. There's no time to wing it anymore. This group, you are in a non-medication, tools-oriented, solution-oriented group. It is the most positive group for ADHD and ODD moms in all of Facebook because nobody really knows what's happening. We are all winging it. The doctors are winging it. The therapists are winging it. The teachers are winging it. We are not winging it. We have a formula. It begins with perpetual transmutation, looking at our children as if they can versus as if they cannot. Number 2, you have what's important to you. That's called a goal, getting out the door on time, having your kid have a bath, brushing their teeth, going to bed, whatever. That's a goal that's important to you. What is a goal that's important to your child so that you can begin to help them reach their goals by them engaging in what's important to you? Are you going to brush your teeth before or after you put your pajamas on? Oh, I'll do it right after, Mom. Great. When would be the best time to put your pajamas on? Give them an opportunity to think. Give them an opportunity to choose. Because, gosh, look inside yourself. How would you like every morning you wake up? Okay, go brush your teeth. Go get dressed. Put your shoes on. We're late. We got to get out the door on time. Okay, let's get out the door. Hurry up. I said put your shoes on, right? And then all day long, they get home from school, do your homework, clean your room, put your shoes away, put your backpack over there. If they're constantly being dictated at and told what to do, how are they ever going to think on their own? How are they ever going to think on their own? Oh, you're so funny, Tina. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, conscious discipline. I've had several hours of training over the last 6 years. It did not teach my child the skills he needed. Great program, but it needs more. Absolutely. I've noticed all the traveling to appointments sets Isaiah back with behavior because he's tired of traveling. All right. Well, you know, these appointments, who benefits the most from all these doctor's appointments? Because, I mean, we have clients right now that have spent $95,000 on getting healing for their child who ended up nowhere, who ended up hiring us to actually coach them and work with them because they're at the end of the rope now, you know. We're talking about solution-oriented so we can raise the next generation. We here in this group, you are mama infantry, or you're going to be. And I just got to say, you know, if you're in this group and you're looking for, you know, sympathy or empathy or a new medication or some sort of supplement that's going to calm your child down and put them in the back of the room so you can deal with them, you're in the wrong group. We're not going to talk about that here. We're going to talk about what can we do. Okay, so back to number 1. Number 1 tip is look at your kids as if they can versus they can't. Number 2, give your child a motivator, you know, maybe a television, Wi-Fi, iPads, iPhones, cookies, yogurt, chocolate milk, ketchup on a hot dog. Guys, these are all privileges that your children would be willing to work for. They would love to learn some responsibility. They would love to show you how great they are. They would love to step into their own power. But right now, I believe that millions and millions and millions of children around the world are putting their feet into the ground, just going, wait a minute, stop all the control. Give me some power. Teach me, show me, let me grow. Mom, Dad, let me grow. All right? Okay, so that's the 2 tips. And number 3 is I'm going to give you a statement. This is going to be life-changing. Life-changing. Okay, so you have goals. They have goals. How do you combine the 2 goals so that you get a child that runs and brushes his teeth and puts his pajamas on and goes to bed without you? Huh. This is so cool. Okay. Well, and it's even simpler than what I'm going to tell you right now, because the very first time that I ever saw Tom talked to my son at bedtime. It was so simple, you guys. It was so simple. I would say it's time for bed, dictation, telling him what to do, right? No control, mom controls me, I gotta go to bed, power struggle. Tom comes around the corner and he goes, hey, Zach, do you want to go to bed right now with a story or in 10 minutes from now without a story? The only difference in the approach was I gave him a choice, a parent-approved choice. I was fine with either of the two choices. He felt like he had some control in his life. He made the decision in 10 minutes with no story. Remember at the beginning I said I thought that you'd have to read them a story every night because that would make you a good mom? Well, they didn't even appreciate it. He didn't even want the story. He wanted to stay up 10 minutes later. But because he got to make the choice, and then Tom took it another step further, he says, in 10 minutes, where does the big hand on the clock going to go? What does that look like? And so they spent a minute or two at the clock. They figured out 10 minutes, and 10 minutes later, I didn't believe it, but it did happen. 10 minutes later, my little ADHD and ODDer runs up the stairs, says, oh, it's bedtime, gives me a hug, goes to bed, and I never saw him again till morning, and he went to bed happy. Now, is it our job to make our kids happy? Is that our number one priority, is to make our kids happy? If it was, how are they ever going to find happiness on their own? No, it's not. You, child, can choose to not like me in the moment. You can choose to hate me for the rest of your life. My job is to not have you like me. My job is to prepare you for life. So once I began this new approach with my kids, everything they ask for, I want to go see a movie. Great, that's called a goal. How are you going to make the money to go? How are you going to get there? How much gas money does it actually cost to take you to the movie and back? How are you going to pay that? At first, it was like, Mom, can't we just go back? Can't you just be my friend? And then that really hit me because I was like, oh, we're not friends. I'm your mom. And I have a job to do, and my job is to prepare you for the world. And I have been raising you as if we live in a fantasy world. I have been raising you in a fantasy world that doesn't exist. It's not making you happy. It's making you anxious and depressed. It's making our relationship be separated. But a year later, once I started empowering my kids to be, do, and have their goals, what they wanted, I want a $700 bike, Mom. Perfect. What does that look like? What do you like about the bike? How are you going to make the money? How long is it going to take you to earn that money? Where does it come from? $700 bike. Now your child 3 months in might go, I changed my mind. I'll take this one over here for $150, which is great. And even so, do you know how well they're going to take care of that bike when they actually set a goal, persevere through some obstacles, because that's guaranteed, and then finally reach the goal? They feel so good about themselves. Okay, I've had success with the structured time, having him beat the timer for homework and bedtime. Awesome. So that works. Okay, well, this is great. Did we do any likes? I didn't see any likes or hearts go across. I love the hearts. It makes me feel really special. But maybe I just can't see them here on the screen this time, because I know I asked you guys to do it. You probably did do that. I really believe, you guys, that this job that we have is bigger than us. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than you. And you have been blessed with kids who are, acting out to the point that's attracted you to this group, because I really believe that a group of people, a group of children, us, are being brought together to find the solutions that they've been looking for since mankind began when it comes to raising kids in the most positive, empowered way possible. I believe the answers have always been here, because they are in almost, every success principle book that I've read, including, like, say, the Bible. The principles are in there. Ask for what you want, believing you've already received them and it's yours. Except for our kids are asking for things and they're just being told, no, we can't afford it. We don't have time. No, you didn't do your homework, so you don't get dessert, or whatever it is. They're just being told no. So thirdly, okay, so you've got, my kids can do it. They are capable. All right, begin to switch the mindset from what we've been trained or conditioned to believe to, oh my gosh, my kids are capable. Number two, I have a goal for them to go to bed on time. What's their goal? What do they want? They want to stay up a little later without a story, go straight to bed, or they want a story first. Up to them, totally. And then number three is, I would love for you to have blank. How are we going to make it happen? It doesn't need to happen tomorrow or next week. Your role on this planet with your kids is not to make them happy. It's to help them learn the life skills, to set goals, put it in writing, work towards the obstacles until it's accomplished. And I tell you what, your child's going to be smiling from ear to ear. They're going to have confidence like you wouldn't even believe that they have. They're going to start getting healed. They're going to start doing well in school. They're going to start becoming more respectful and loving and kind and all of the positive attributes that we would love for our kids to have. Completely all up to you. All right, so if you are just getting to know us, again, I'm Bonnie Liotta. My husband is Tom Liotta. I'm going to have him join me here on Friday, and we're going to share some really, really great super tips on, how to get your kids to comply, because I can only give you so much in each one of these videos, right? Go to our website, learntospeakkid.com. Download the ebook, Learn to Speak Kid. We want to get it out there. Download it. Share it with your friends. If you did receive some value from this video, could you please click like and share this video? We need to get this information out to all the parents out there right now who are wondering what the heck's going on, why are my kids going crazy, and we need to just bring that power and knowledge that you do have the power. Mom, Dad, you have the power, and your kids are counting on you to bring it to fruition. Okay, any questions or anything you guys want me to talk about? I don't have a lot of time. I have a call waiting now. At first, my son got mad and said I was mean and said he hated me. I told him it was not my job to be his friend, and I told him I love you too. Absolutely. And Chelsea, is he now coming along and showing a little bit more happiness as he's working towards his goals, now that he's building confidence and realizes he can make things happen on his own? Thank you so much for being here, you guys. This is great. I love these videos. I'm going to do them more and more and more and more and more. Yes, he believes in himself now. And yeah, that's amazing, Chelsea. And he will. And it's going to be a journey. It's been a 5-year journey for me and my 6-year-old now. He's 12. And you see, we still have odd moments with him. Like, not every day is a great cherry in the sky day, but we have tools and strategies and structure in place. So I'm not in the bathroom crying at the end of every day because I've either yelled at them too much or they're driving me crazy. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Tina. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you again in a day or two. Okay. Bye for now. You bet, you guys.